Well, welcome to my new video. Thanks for checking this out. So this video is basically part 2 in my most recent games that have been ported over from the Atomiswave arcade board over to the Sega Dreamcast. So if you want to check out part 1, I'll just put that in the description and pop that up there for you now. And if you want to see any other releases that have been ported over, where I've just done a quick cover on these titles, you will see that in my Keep Dreaming playlist. So there has been a fair bunch of these games that have been ported over thanks to two guys mostly, and that is Megafault85 and YZB. So big shout out to those guys, thank you very much for getting these games over to us. So now in this video I'm going to quickly cover some of these releases to try and get up to date of what games have been available to us at the date of this video. And as I'm making this video, there's also been some number of games that are still being released. So I'm going to try and patch this all together so then we're all up to date. So now let's head over to a quick review of some of these releases. So I appreciate anyone that's watched my previous video and now want to check out some more releases. So now we have another fighting game, and at the time of this game that was originally released, the genre was very popular. And this is again the first time of me checking out this game.
The Rumblefish.
So again, the character animation and the music is pretty sweet with this release. Now the only thing that really stands out with this is the actual character design and animation of how the character handles in the first place. I find it quite different and even quite unique.
Battle location.
Now this game was developed again by Dips and then published by Sammy for the arcade system, but then it was published by Sega themselves for the PlayStation 2, so you can actually pick up a actual console version of this, and it was only released in Japan in 2005. I did find the original settings and backstories pretty interesting. The sound effects and the music are pretty awesome, and it does actually compete to a lot of the other 2D fighting games out there. The main struggle that I have with this game is the actual difficulty itself. I'm not that great at 2D actual fighting games personally, but this one actually threw a lot at me and I struggled to even get past the third guy. Another interesting fact about the animation is that they actually use a new graphics engine, and that will enable various limbs of each other's characters move separately, allowing for more of a fluid animation. The engine will also allow the clothes of each character to rip from wear and tear, and they actually create more damage throughout a match. So looks great, sounds pretty awesome, and has got a kind of unique characteristic to this game, but that actual difficulty spike is pretty high, so do prepare yourself for a bit of rage on this release. So next up, thanks to Megafault and YZB, we've also got its sequel, Rumblefish 2, again developed by Dips and published by Sammy. Now this game actually never got a console port, so this was the only way of actually playing so, and now thanks to those guys we can actually play it now on our Sega Dreamcast. So again, this was the first time me actually playing this title, and I can definitely say they definitely improved the balance of difficulty, so I managed to actually progress a lot through this game and enjoy this a little bit more than the actual first one. Now this release actually uses all the elements from the first game, but just adds some extra ones. The offense and defense gauges now has been divided into 3 sections, each allowing for more usage of offense and defense as well as techniques tied to each gauge. Now personally I'm not much of a fighting fan, but if you guys out there, there's something quite unique about the style of this game. In addition, the system is the boost dive, and it puts each character into a power-up state, allowing some of their own unique type of style and special. Now personally, I am still really enjoying the animation of the characters, the actual character design, the sound effects and music are pretty top notch. I am really enjoying the special moves that you can pull off in this title. Again, as this is an arcade port, there's not much actual playtime on this. It's just kind of runs about half an hour gameplay, but you can always try out the unique characters on this game. Now for the next title, probably my least impressive one, I was quite confused because there wasn't much explanation going on with this title, and it was pretty hard to try and find an actual download at the time when it actually got originally released. But basically it's just kind of a versus columns game. So if you know what columns is or Tetris, you just kind of know what's going on. You basically have a food battle mode or a challenge mode against other players, or you can play it one-on-one. Now there isn't much actually to find about this game, apart from it was released in 2003 and it's a pretty simple puzzle drop game, something that you will enjoy with 2 players. But we have definitely had better games that have been coming out, ported over from the Atomiswave, which is coming up next. So let's quickly pass this one. So now I'm going to be just a little bit cheeky and show a 4-in-1 capture footage, because there has been 4 arcade shooting games that have been ported over, but unfortunately I don't actually own a CRT actual TV or even the Dreamcast arcade light gun, which kind of annoying because the arcade shooting is one of my favourite genres, but hopefully somewhere down in the future I'll be able to capture some decent footage. The 4 games being Ranger Mission, Sport Shooting USA, Sega Clay Shooting and Extreme Hunting. Now at the time of this video I have noticed some very lucky people that managed to get their hands on some customized arcade guns that you can actually utilize and use on your HD screens. I believe they've modified the actual video output cable with a VGA. Now I think these are early days and I just kind of like to do a bit of research more to cover how you can get these arcade games to work on your HD screens. So hopefully later down the line I'll be able to cover the actual footage and see how these games actually work and run. Now more recently in timing of this video we've had a nice release of Force 5, and this actually took me back a bit because I didn't realise how good it was until I actually jumped into it. Basically if you're a fan of Virtual Fighter series or even the Tekken, you're going to enjoy this game as well. So this game is a full 3D fighting game, really making the Dreamcast shine. It runs really well, the sound effects are not too bad, the music could be a little bit better I would say, but all in all I'm really glad that we managed to get this ported over. So basically I can't really find that much information about this game online, but it definitely didn't have a console release. But there was a later release called Jingy's Storm, the arcade, and this actually game was released for the Sega Naomi GD-ROM. I believe that may have been a sequel or even just a rebranding of this first game. I'm not too sure, but if you guys know any more information about this release, I'd be happy to read them in the comments box below. So personally I'm pretty excited about this release. It's pretty fun, it actually makes Dreamcast shine, always welcoming any 3D games over to the Dreamcast. The actual control balance for each character is pretty fine, but when you get to the end I did find there was a bit of a difficulty spike. The moment you get to the end boss it's pretty tough, but after a few times I did manage to take him down. Not too long after its release and availability to us, thanks to the guys Megafaults and YZB again, they managed to actually get a widescreen version, and that does actually look pretty nice, but it is again just kind of forced widescreen into a 4:3 ratio, so like every other Dreamcast game that you force to widescreen, you just got to change your TV settings, and this game actually shines a lot better in this widescreen mode. So we're almost there with these releases up to date with this video. There's just a couple of more I want to get through, and there's also some pretty awesome news that some modders have actually managed to do and surprise us what they can do with these Atomiswave games. The next game coming up is probably one of my favourites in this whole releases so far, definitely visually and how the character design looks.
Select your character.
Yes, we have another fighting game on our hands, but at the time of this actual original release, it's very hard to find a developer that actually wasn't working on this type of genre of games. It was released as late as 2005, developed at Dream Factor. You may remember some of their previous work of the PS1 fighting game called Ergis. Still can't really pronounce that properly. The game was featuring a normal and story mode. It has a one-on-one cel-shaded 3D graphics and 2D gameplay on a 3D field, similar to that of the Capcom's popular Rival Schools game. Personally, I'm really enjoying this native port of this official game. It has a good balance of difficulty for someone who's not really that great of this style of game. The music is pretty good, it has solid and smooth gameplay and visually appealing. Happy now that we finally got access to this title. It's very hard to find out in the wild on the original arcade and never got a console port until now. There's also a tasty looking widescreen version that is available to download us if you prefer to play this full screen by 16:9. So now we are leading up to the end of the available games in the timing of this video. Appreciate you all for sticking around in this video, especially as it's longer than originally expected. Even more thanks if you came from watching the very first part of Atomiswave Showcase. Soon we'll get into some updates and mods. The last title is called Animal Basket. Unfortunately, I can't find much about this game at all. I could just imagine it being on a very big virtual screen with some interesting simple controls. But yeah, I'm sure this kind of simple game would appeal to kids, but it's not for me and I can't really find much info, so now let's quickly cover some updates and mods. So Dolphin Blue was originally released a fair few months ago, and it was probably one of the biggest hype games to actually be brought over. Personally, it's one of my favourite games. I wanted to try and get going on the Dreamcast, and it's one of my favourite genres, and the sprite work is pretty awesome. If you want to see the video of my full coverage on the original actual port, I'll just put that up there for you and now in the description. So I'm pretty excited now the actual bug was fixed, because when it was originally released it got to stage 3 or stage 4. I think it's the stage 4. Basically you'll get to this point and there'll be no enemies and you just keep looping and looping. But now there is a bug fix, so you can actually progress through the entirety of the game. So that is some big news, especially for fans out there as well. There is also a widescreen version of this, so that's pretty sweet. You can get this on 16:9 to fit your screen if you prefer it to play it that way. Next up, a YouTuber that goes by the name of DC Self-Boot, who actually gives a lot to the Dreamcast community. I do recommend checking out this channel. There's always some updates and some new content for the Dreamcast with that channel. He has actually managed to try and set up a kind of LAN connection to 2 Dreamcasts with 2 arcade Atomiswave games, 2 of them being actually maximum speed and faster than speed. Those 2 original arcades will actually land up together to actually have a 4-player experience from the original arcade. So now he's unlocked this method to actually try and get a network mode between 2 Dreamcasts, so you can actually verse each other via 2 different screens, just like the original arcade experience. So I think this is some great work. No one really I know of has actually tried this out, but I think if I manage to actually get any broadband adapters for my Dreamcast, they do go quite a lot of money, so he's very lucky to get these. So the actual work he's doing is pretty awesome, and I can't wait to see what other work he's progressing on. More games now feature a debug menu, which is a quick combination of some buttons, and you can access some more options that were actually available to the original arcade. So you can actually change the actual game mode from the difficulty. You can actually change what the type of coin type, so you can extend the lives. Also change it to like infinity lives as well. So it's kind of a bit like a cheat thing, but you could actually do this on the original arcade as well. There's a lot of other settings, like what actual area the arcade is based. You can change the actual audio mode from mono to stereo, and also the sound volume. And one thing that actually did surprise me is with the Dolphin Blue game itself, it is automatically booting into a mono audio mode. So when you've actually got that the stereo, it does actually sound a lot better. There's also some other features that you can actually use to communicate, which is like network mode. So that is where people are modding those games to have linked up console, so something that we will see later down in the road. There's also a lot of bookkeeping information, so you can see how many times you've played the game, any of the score factor as well that you've got within the game as well. So that's pretty awesome and interesting, and hope that they play this to more titles. And when it comes to actually using light guns on your HD screens, I've seen there's definitely more talk about people being able to get their hands on this. So I'm very excited that these are becoming more available and something I would actually look into in the future. So it won't be too long before this is further more accessible to the general Dreamcast community. Again, I just have to show my appreciation for everyone that has managed to stick with these videos. They were definitely longer than originally expected. So basically that was just a quick rundown of what games have been ported over from the Atomiswave to the Sega Dreamcast. Hopefully I've managed to catch up now and show you guys what games are available to us, and I think it's pretty sweet. So if you like any further content and more details of this releases, just hit me in the comments box below. So as always, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that button. If you want to support, click subscribe, leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.